She had one bullet left, and the man she loved was already being dragged into the darkness. The desert stretched silent and merciless beneath Captain Elara Cross's scope, but her heartbeat drowned out everything else. Through the thermal haze, she could see the dust trail of the Convoy 3 vehicles moving fast toward the border. In the middle truck sat Lieutenant Marcus Kane, hands bound, head slumped forward. They'd taken him 16 hours ago during what was supposed to be a routine patrol. Now, intelligence said he had less than 2 hours before they crossed into territory where rescue became impossible. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. Elara had made 237 therm shots in her career. Every single one had been by the book. Every target had been verified, approved, sanctioned by command. But this one, this impossible, career-ending, court-martial guaranteeing shot, wasn't authorized by anyone. Command had already called it. Stand down, Cross. We can't risk an international incident. Kane is lost. Those words still echoed in her earpiece, now switched off and buried in the sand. Beside her dot, she adjusted her position on the ridge, feeling the hot stone press against her elbows. Her spotter, Sergeant David Reeves, lay beside her, his voice barely a whisper. "El, if you take this shot, we're both finished. You know that, right?" She did know. She knew it would end her career, possibly land her in military prison, and destroy the reputation she'd spent 12 years building. But she also knew something else, something that made her fingers steady on that. Trigger instead of shaking. Marcus had saved her life once. It was 18 months ago, in a firefight that went sideways faster than anyone could have predicted. An ambush in a market square. Elara had been separated from her unit, pinned down by crossfire with a shattered radio and a leg wound that painted her boot dark red. She remembered the way the world had started to blur at the edges, how the sounds of gunfire had begun to feel distant and dreamlike. Then Marcus appeared, running through bullets that chewed up the concrete around him like angry teeth, his face set in that stubborn expression she'd come to know so well. He'd thrown her over his shoulder and carried her 3 blocks to safety, while taking fire from 2 directions. "You don't leave people behind," he'd said later, his voice matter-of-fact, as if he'd just helped her move furniture instead of saving her life. That's not who we are. Now it was her turn, and the mathematics of the situation were brutal. The convoy was moving at approximately 45 miles per hour on an unpaved road, distance to target 1,200 meters. Wind speed 8 miles per hour, gusting to 12. Temperature differential creating mirage effect in the scope. And the actual physical window of the moving vehicle measured roughly 18 inches across. She needed to thread a bullet through that window, past 2 other bodies in the truck, to hit the driver. Not to kill him, just to stop the vehicle. To buy time for the extraction team that officially didn't exist but was actually positioned. 6 miles north, waiting for a signal that officially wouldn't come. Her training screamed at her. This shot violated every rule. Moving target. Unverified civilian presence. No authorization. Extreme distance with environmental complications. The probability of success hovered somewhere around 15%. The probability of catastrophic. Diplomatic fallout approached 100. She thought about Marcus's daughter. 7-year-old Riley with her gap-toothed smile and her father's stubborn chin. She'd met her at the family day last summer. Riley had shown her drawing stick figures of soldiers with enormous guns and a sun that took up half the sky. "That's my daddy," she'd said proudly, pointing to the tallest figure. "He keeps everybody safe." Or would she tell Riley if she didn't take this shot? Elara's breath steadied. Her world contracted to the circle of her scope wind, distance, motion, and in the center of it all, a truck carrying the man who'd once run through hell for her. She calculated the lead, accounting for vehicle speed and bullet drop. Her finger rested on the trigger with the gentleness of a prayer. "El," David whispered, his voice tight with fear and loyalty. "Whatever you decide. I'm with you." She didn't answer. The first vehicle in the convoy kicked up a cloud of dust that obscured her view. She waited. 3 seconds. 5. The dust cleared. The middle truck emerged from the haze. Through her scope, she could see the driver's profile, the passenger beside him gesturing emphatically. And in the back, through the rear window, she glimpsed Marcus raising his head. Time crystallized into this single moment, all her training, all her doubts, all her love for her country and her oath and her friend compressed into this space. Between heartbeats, she fired. The bullet crossed 1,200 meters in 1.4 seconds. It entered the driver's side window at a 15-degree angle, passed 6 inches from the passenger's shoulder, and struck the driver in the upper arm, exactly where Elara had aimed. The truck swerved violently, its rear end fishtailing in the loose gravel before lurching to a stop at an angle that blocked the other vehicles behind it. Chaos erupted in her scope. Doors flew open, men scattered, and then like a wave of precision and power, the extraction team appeared from behind. The ridge line to the north. 8 shadows moving with practiced coordination, their vehicles kicking up twin rooster tails of dust as they closed the distance in under 90 seconds. Elara watched through her scope as the rescue team secured the perimeter, as they cut Marcus's restraints, as they pulled him into their vehicle. She watched until all 3 rescue trucks were clear and racing back toward friendly territory. Only then did she lower her rifle and let herself breathe. David was staring at her with something between awe and terror. That, he said slowly, was either the best shot I've ever seen or the worst decision of your life. Both, Elara replied, her voice steady despite the trembling that had started in her hands. Definitely both. They'd packed up and moved to the extraction point before her earpiece crackled back to life. She'd expected fury, accusations, the beginning of her court-martial. Instead, she heard Marcus's voice, rough with emotion and exhaustion. Cross, they're telling me you went off book. They're saying you just threw away your career. She closed her eyes. Head to Kane. You don't leave people behind. That's not who we are. The silence stretched long enough that she thought the connection. Head dropped. Then Marcus spoke again, and she could hear him smiling through the tears in his voice. Riley's gonna draw you in her next picture. The soldier who saved her dad. She'll probably give you a cape. Elara did face consequences. A formal reprimand. 30 days of suspension. Mandatory psychological evaluation. But she also received something else, a letter from Marcus's commander recommending her for commendation, signed by every member of Marcus's unit. And at the family day 6 months later, Riley ran straight to her with a new drawing clutched in her small hands. It showed 2 stick figures this time, standing side by side, both wearing capes. That's you and Daddy, Riley explained, pressing the drawing into Elara's hands. You're both heroes who save people. Elara knelt down to Riley's level, that piece of construction paper, suddenly the most valuable thing she'd ever held. Your dad saved me first, sweetheart. I was just returning the favor. Because courage doesn't measure itself in authorized decisions or perfect probabilities, it measures itself in the moment. You choose who you're willing to become for the people you refuse to abandon. And on that ridge, with 1 bullet and impossible odds, Elara Cross had become exactly who she needed to be. The desert still stretches silent beneath that ridge where she made her choice. But if you listen closely, you might hear the echo of a single shot that said everything about what we owe each other and what we're willing to risk when the mathematics of the heart override the calculations of the head. If this story moved you, drop a comment below telling me about a time someone went out of their way for you, or when you did the same for someone else. These stories of loyalty and courage matter, and I want to hear yours. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button, because every week we explore the moments that define what it means to be truly human. I'll see you in the next one.